I'll just want to reflect that quickly, really worked. And then I can attest to that. Thank you for saying that and sharing that. I had hoped that we could get to the root of a lot of the issues that communities grapple with. But I think you and Llewellyn are more than adequate to raise that. And I am too, because ek doen al baie lank die werk. And I
Yeah,
come from the
yeah,
Cape Flats. I do know what it's like to live in Bishop Lavis. I do know what it's like to live in Pontyville. I
yes.
do know what it's like to live in Hanover Park. So I hear that and I see that. I want to quickly just shift and ask you, whilst I have you, the time away, what is being not having your feet on the ground? What has and how is your life changed, Roshanda? Not being here, fixing things, being an activist, being involved, being at the forefront. How has that changed your life? For those that have joined us late and don't know, Rushanda is a community worker and she's an activist, but she's not in our country because she fears for her life and she fears for her family and her children's lives and for her safety. She's not here. But that does not mean that the work has stopped. That does not mean she's not interested and she's not involved. Her heart is not in the country. But a person, God has given us wisdom. You also need to be wise in your approach. But what has this meant for your life and for your work and your heart for the people?
For my work and my art, I think a few activists believe I have still much to contribute. They constantly remind me, we cannot lose you now. You are our guiding light. For me, sometimes I can break down and cry because I find myself in another country as an asylum seeker. So I have to pick up the pieces and start life from scratch, having nothing. And so it's not easy. It's not easy to start all over again. Sometimes I would lie on the bed and I would say, I have a double bed at my house and I'm lying here on a single bed. And I would break down and cry like a baby. So that is the harsh realities, yet the heartbeat of my people. Then a message come through, this one has been shot and killed. Like when I received the message, the notice of the mother with a friend and the 9-month-old baby shot and killed in their home. Immediately, I messaged my children. I said, can you see what is happening? You're not safe in your house. You are left to fend for yourself, but in your house doesn't mean safety because they can come in and kill you in your house. And they had to remind me, Mommy, we've experienced it. And therefore, we make double sure the door and the burglar bar gate is closed and so I will keep on fighting. Like I said, my grandchildren is still there, my children is there, and my heartbeat was always I might not see the work that I've done, how much I've put in and plowed, but I pray to God that at least my children will reap the benefits and their children of the efforts that I've put in. And that is important. I always say
Roshanda,
to
there've
all
been
to all the activists that still work with me, and I constantly tell them, let me just play behind the scenes. um I always tell them, God will reunite us again in His time, and now is not the right time. Um, and maybe this is the reason why I had to be alive, because looking from the outside in, I can see better effect of where the ship needs to go to. What can be done? What can we do better? Where was the pitfalls and so forth? And therefore, I'm still that guiding voice behind the scene. If I need to make a live stream in support of the battle they are going to fight, I do that. Like I say, some people phone me and they would still ask for a private trauma support sessions with me. I do that. in my private capacity here, from here, that is also giving and still playing my part. Not as loud as I used to be, because my heart is being out there on the street. I said with the shooting and the gang violence, I said, why are you guys sitting still? Why are you not following the streets? Why is the volume low? And like, yeah, but you know, you are there, you will. And it's not about that. And I think for that reason, I'm glad that I am out, because why? I believe each of us have the power to bring change about. It shouldn't just be about the Rushanda. It shouldn't be just about Rushanda's loud voice. We all have a voice. How we do it is what is the great thing. And so I just said to them, fighting this conviction, or the 50 years bail parole that they are fighting now in this rape case. I said to them, guys, I'm here to advise and guide the process, but I'm staying behind the scenes. You lead. You lead. And sometimes we must just trust that other people are able and capable to lead. And just be the support system. And that is what I want to say to our government. We know you, the government, we know you are in a position, but it does not mean you are more capable than the person loving it every day to bring the change about. It's that person that will bring the change about themselves. We must not take things out of people's hands. We must allow them to fish for themselves and stop fishing and feeding. I think that is the hard lesson I myself had to learn, being reminded of how I was raised. Sometimes they say oudtyd, guys, oudtyd, maar ons ouers het vir ons sterk groot gemaak, want ons kan vandag ons eie vis gaan vang en ons kan enige grond ingaan en ons gaan survive. Ons kan nie dieselfde sê van ons kinders vandag nie. Unfortunately, it's said we have to coop them up in houses. We don't want them to travel alone because the danger is lurking all our children are traumatized, and I would, all our psychologists, they must come out. We need them. We need them in our communities, on our schools, especially for our children, because why? You know, the children to matric, but if they get on university, they struggle. Not because the work is at times too heavy, the mental processing of things, and they being introduced and having to leave university this afternoon to go back to that community. The mental impact on them is enormous. They cannot cope, but we expect them to cope. Now we're sitting with the influx of a lot of children committing suicide. And sometimes I think people forget to look at it when they hear a person has committed suicide. Yes, but why? The question is not why. The question is, everybody is dealing with something.
Every day. Every day. That's the truth. I'm gonna wrap with you, but I wanted to ask, because you had mentioned it in the beginning of our conversation. You said that you did not realize that your body was actually took on all this trauma and was harboring it, and that you had had a heart attack, and that you'd been diagnosed with diabetes, and that the physicians have told you that you just didn't even realize it. How are you doing emotionally and physically? And are you hopeful, though, even though you're so far away from your people? Are you hopeful?
I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful. You know, when I had the heart attack, the funny thing, the doctors were also shocked. I didn't even realize I'm having the heart attack. Luckily, I was on my way to the doctor that day. They wanted to see me. And as I came in, the nurse looked at me and she said, "You are pale." And I said, "I don't see I'm pale." She said, "You're very pale." And she took my hands. And when she took my hands, she said, "Your whole body is tremoring." I said, "Me? I'm fine." And the doctor said to her, "Put her on the ECG machine." And the moment they put, the next minute, I'm rushed to the hospital. And so The physician at the big hospital, he then looked at my chart. They sent me for this test, that test. He said to me, in fact, he went to Google my name and he said to me, woman, you are playing with your life. You're not a robot. You cannot keep on running. This body is saying to you, I am tired, I want to rest. And if you're not going to do that, your body is going to give in, because then I had severe kidney infection. And just a whole lot of cholesterol, things that I've never experienced came out, and they gave me all this medication, and I said, I'm not used to this medication. I'm not taking medication. And he said, well, you have to now, because your body cannot cope on its own. Immediately I got flashbacks, because I always fought it with our people in communities. I asked, how can diabetes make use of tramadol? Why? Everything needs a tramadol. Why? And I realized our health
True.
system are not able to handle the influx
Mm.
of people to
Mm.
make a real diagnosis on our people.
Gnosis.
And the quick
Mm.
fix is a tramadol. And so
I hear you.
today I feel blessed. I'm saying this with the utmost respect for our people. It was sad for me to realize, and some guilt. I'm privileged that this
Mm.
doctors has captured me, but I'm losing many in my communities that do not
Mm.
have this privilege of being seen by a doctor and being diagnosed correctly. And
I
so
hear you.
they not. That is why I say they do not only fight gang violence, but the impact of trauma on their bodies. That is the greatest bullet that they are getting, is that there's no survival if you are not captured in time. You die of illness you never had, what that was not even intended for you, but the impact of the trauma is creating
Mm.
that illness. And so then we live in a society, these illnesses ask for specific foods for people that already are
Yes.
unable to see to it. So how can they contain without money? We
It's a
eat what we get.
cycle.
Yes.
Yes.
And
It's a
so
cycle.
that is why I say our health workers, I was what about 3 weeks in hospital. I felt very alone. I immediately said to my children, I don't want to die here. You better bring my body home if I die here. And the physician, he saw my pain and how lonely I felt. And he went to call all the South African doctors, and I was shocked. I said, I didn't know
Mm.
there's so many South African doctors. Our people need you there. What are you doing here? And they came to cheer me up. They brought me something nice every day, pop in and talk with me. But the sadness is again, they said, you are activist through and through. It's in your blood because you keep on scolding us. What are you doing here? You must go back. But that is just me, because I know the need is in our country. I know our people need the service that they are giving. In the end, we could separate by me acknowledging it is also not easy for them giving
Yeah.
service, not being seen, to not having a voice, not even being appreciated in the country for the service that they are giving. And so I think, the one thing I've learned is a lot of us find ourselves outside of South Africa. Our bodies are here, but our hearts are still back home. And that we can never go. We can never give away. It's in our veins.
Very much so.